Here we are once again on a Friday night, the second Friday of the month. And normally for our astronomy club, we would be having a restaurant dinner or potluck or some kind of thing. But 2020 happened, and so now we're meeting online, which is it's okay. We're gonna do it for as long as we have to do it, and then we'll start meeting in person again, and we'll be all good. There is light at the end of the tunnel, y'all. I think we're coming out of this thing. So we're gonna have a great night of astronomy, though, or at least talking about astronomy. So if you're into that sort of thing, welcome. And if you're not, then you might as well hang out anyway because there's not much else going on a Friday night. We got some cool people to hang out with us. Some of my contemporaries from the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas, and we'll get to some intros of those particular fellows, and then start with the astronomy meeting. And so I'll start over here with Mr. Howard Miner. And Mr. Howard is our newsletter editor, and he's been doing the newsletter for many, many years. Does a fantastic job, but it's good to see you, Howard. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Rainy today, but it's gone by now.
Yeah, we have gotten a little bit of weather here in Texas, and that's just the way it goes. They say if you don't like the weather here in Texas, wait a second, and because it does change pretty quick. So, yeah, it's good to have you, Howard. We'll go down here to Mr. Eddie Trevino. Everybody knows Eddie. He is our club treasurer.
How's everybody doing today? It's good to be here with everyone.
Good to see you,
hello,
Eddie.
Will. Hello, Howard, and hello, Spencer.
Hello.
Yeah.
How's it going, Eddie?
Yeah, good to see you, man. It's always good to have Eddie here with us, as always. And then tonight we have the man of the hour, a good friend of ours from the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. You can find him out in the darkness. He says "Never Too Dark." That's his screen name. It's Never Dark for Spencer Pratt. How you doing, man? You doing all right?
I'm doing good. Sometimes it is too dark. We get to that later. But hello, everyone. Merry Christmas and happy Christmas to you. Enjoying this.
Yeah, man. Sometimes I guess it is too dark if there's clouds, no moon, and just this total blanket. But
Yep.
yeah, but it's good to have you, Spencer. This is Spencer's debut on the online version of the Astronomical Society at East Texas meeting. Of course, Spencer's been with us for many, many months or many, many years at the actual place where we meet, which is the Murray J. Frank Planetarium in Beaumont, Texas, which is a beautiful place run by Sharon Rigsby. And we got to have Sharon on here one night. It'd be good to have her and have her do a chat about how the COVID is going over there. It looks like we're going to be meeting in person again, maybe middle of next year. So we'll keep doing this for now, and we'll be hanging out with you guys. But we'll get to some comments real quick. Adam, our friend, says, "Hey guys, and Merry Christmas." Merry Christmas, Adam. Good to see you. Cooper, what's up? How you doing? Charles Shelton, member of the Astronomical Society. Good to see you, Charles.
All right.
Hey, Charles, how's it going?
Hey, Charles.
Ziggy Wood in the house. Rob, how you doing? Kathy Sutton, good to see you. So we'll be going through a lot of these comments tonight as we go along. If y'all want to throw down in the comments where y'all are from. So we got Romania in the house. That's absolutely awesome. Normally, people from Romania can't get access to our little old club in Beaumont, Texas, but because of the power of the internet, here we go. So welcome. I guess that's Pechu or Peku. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. I don't know. Maybe Eddie can help me.
I would say Pechu.
Yeah, we'll go with that. And Mr. Jim Opry, another member of the Astronomical Society, here with us again. So it's good to see all y'all hanging out with us. We're going to get to some club business. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and there's some really cool stuff happening. So I didn't want to put too much in the meeting tonight. I wanted to trim it down a little bit, and we'll focus on some of the really cool things that are going to happen in this last little stretch of 2020 that we have coming up. And then we'll look back a little bit on some of the things that we did, not only as a club, which isn't really anything because of COVID, and we'll also look at some of the events that we did going back through the year as it goes, as we go through the meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a full screen method here. There we go. All right. So this is the December meeting. For those of y'all that may not know, we are the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. We are a 501c incorporated, whatever, nonprofit. That's all a bunch of long words and all that. We're a nonprofit, and we do stuff for the greater good. And we're a conglomeration of astronomers like those you see on the panel here tonight. We like to hang out. We like to discuss astronomy and go out and do things like you see in the picture here. Which is in the darkest skies we can find, set up our telescopes, and we will observe. We also do outreach for the local community here in Beaumont and around the area as well, which is pretty awesome. So while we're getting to some of the club business, observing reports, I know a lot of y'all in the chat, and I know some of you guys on the panel have probably been out observing. So while we're kind of talking through our observing reports, I want y'all to throw down in the chat if y'all have been observing, what y'all been looking at. I know the answer is probably going to be Jupiter and Saturn for most people across the board, which we're going to talk a lot about that. But I don't know, Howard, what have you been up to these days visually observing? Have you been doing anything?
Very little, but I did drag my birding scope outside and looked at the sun a little bit and watched the sunspot 2790, I believe, and moving across the sun and going off the edge now. And so I kind of tracked that along, and it with my little spotting scope, I can get up to about 50 power with the thing, the bird scope, and it's an 80 millimeter. And so it wasn't too bad of a picture. You could see the umbra around the spot and this type of thing. So certainly a little bit of detail with such a small scope, but I enjoyed doing that. And of course, visually observing Jupiter and Saturn getting closer together, and I think they're getting down to about a degree now, maybe apart. And so anyway, that's about it for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're getting real close to a degree. And Eddie, have you been doing any observing, man? Have you been out looking at stuff?
Well, I've been doing pretty much what Howard's been doing. We've all had ourselves focused on Jupiter and Saturn, just watching the event happen before our eyes, get closer and closer. And I try to point them out to as many people as I can. And I get questions like, what's the big deal about it? Well, it doesn't happen very often where we could see it.
Right.
Even to questions like, what's the difference between a planet and a star? Some people don't realize that planets don't give off their own light. So there's some good discussion around that. And then, of course, I watched the ISS and the Crew Dragon capsule as they went across the sky. You could see them separately. That was really cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point, Eddie. Sometimes we take little things like that for granted, that we know that planets don't create their own light. Other people are like, whoa, that what? Oh, wow, crazy. So that's why we're here, and that's why we do what we do. And so thank you, Eddie, for even now showing people and kind of explaining this stuff to close friends and family. That's awesome stuff. Spencer, you've been out doing any? I know you got injured at El Dorado, but have you been able to get out and do any naked eye stuff lately or anything?
Actually, I've done some observing with the 6-inch SCT. Met up with my family, mother, brother, and his wife, and my two nieces and nephew, and set up a 0.2 push-2 system and showed them all the moon, and they were all amazed. They'd never seen the moon up close, and showed them Saturn and Jupiter and Mars, and they had a really great time. We've got a brand new astronomer in the family now, so 6-inch Dobsonian coming my nephew's way for Christmas. And a green laser pointer to mount to that, and he's going to have a great time. Now, he's normally in Chicago, so skies are not that great, but they'll be able to get out of town periodically and set up and look at things. So great to have a new astronomer in the family.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can introduce astronomy to somebody, young, old, in the middle, wherever, that's the goal. That's what we're trying to do as amateur astronomers. And I've been out doing stuff mostly with the conjunction. I was trying to get every night consecutively, and then clouds came tonight. So that's not going to happen, but that's the way it goes. I mean, you can't expect the weather to always be clear. Now, when it comes to the actual, December 21st date, if we're going to talk about, I'm probably going to be mobile. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so we've got a couple of stuff coming in here. Adam says, first time 2 days ago using my cousin's new Schmidt-Cassegrain viewing Jupiter and Saturn. The new scope performed well with Orion's nebula. Nice, man. Very good. Adam's killing it. He's out there. He's got a nice logbook started. He's doing a little bit of sketching here and there, doing some Jupiter moon sketches and stuff like that. So he's doing great stuff, man. Keep it going, Adam. It's good to see those posts, which I should have shared some of those, and I apologize for not grabbing some of those, putting those up. Hey, Pete, how you doing? Hey, it's Bill and Mary Dixon, all the way from Bridge City, Texas. Which is funny that we, being this close as we are, we have to bounce signals off satellites to see each other anymore.
Yeah.
The way it goes.
How you doing, Bill? It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, good to hear from Bill. He's always a good guy to have in the club. He always brings his hilarity to the meetings. It's good to see both of them out there with us. And people from Malaysia. Docnam in Malaysia. How you doing, Docnam? So that's awesome. So while we're going through the meeting tonight, feel free to throw down your observing reports if you've been out observing. We'd love to hear what y'all been up to. And now we're gonna just get through a little bit of club business and talk about some fun stuff. We are a club. If you do want to join and become a member, you can. If you are local, you can give us a check or cash, whatever it is, for your dues for the 2021. I want to say season, but it's just a year. But it is going to be a year that will. Well, I messed up. I'm sorry. Let me get rid of that. There we go. See, I'm glad I have this other screen up because now I can catch my mistakes in real time. So there we go. All right. But these are some of the club perks that you can get if you are a club member. We have a club newsletter that's put together by Howard Miner. It's fantastic stuff. We have Astronomical League awards that you have access to. You get on our mailing list, so you'll know if we're going out to our dark sky site or this or that once COVID is gone, of course. And you get the Reflector magazine, which is a quarterly publication by the Astronomical League. You're a member of the Astronomical League when you join our club, so it's like getting multiple bang for your buck there. So if you do want to join, definitely get with me or with Eddie Trevino. He's on the list here, or on the panel, and we'd love to get you going as an asset member for 2021. It's $30 for your whole family, year long. We bother you once for payment, and then we'll leave you alone if you want us to. So, but we appreciate all y'all that want to join. And of course, I've got to get my dues in because I'm talking about it now. So I got to remember to send Eddie a check. Since we're on the topic of cashola, Amazon Smile has a program. If y'all shop on Amazon, maybe you don't want to join the club. Maybe you just want to chip into us when you buy your music or your garden tools on Amazon. You can go to smile.amazon.com and 0.5% of your dollar, but not out of your pocket, goes to us. It goes out of Jeff Bezos' pocket, which is really cool, Jeff. Thank you for that. You can search us by that EIN number right there on Amazon Smile, or you can just search the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. You see the bottom corner there. I have a picture of what it'll look like when you're supporting us. So once you're supporting the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas, that $30,000 car or whatever you're going to buy on Amazon, we get 0.5% of that money. And I promise you, we won't all go to Fiji on that cash. So that's my personal promise to y'all. And we'll see if I uphold it. So no, but we do appreciate y'all's extra Smile money. Again, it doesn't come out of your pocket. It comes out of Jeff's pocket. So if you're not supporting us, please go support someone else. There's so many charities on Amazon Smile. So if you don't feel like you want to support us, so many other things that you support. And it's literally, you just go to a link, you do your shopping, you check out, and then all the 5%, the 0.5% goes to those charities of your choice. It's a great thing. So keep that in mind. And treasure report, which is, pretty much just like people joined and we got some cash in the bank, right, Eddie?
Well, we had an Amazon Smile second quarter donation finally came in, I think last month. And I don't think we've had any new members sign up yet since the last meeting. We did have one person make some inquiries. And I gave them the information, and this late in the year, I just requested that they wait till January, come to the meeting, see what it's all about. Just wait till January and join if you're a new member. I will be sending out to current members an email that will remind them that dues are coming up for 2021, and give them the option to pay through PayPal or sending a check to our P.O. box. That always works. Whatever's most convenient, and hopefully we can get everybody signed up early before the first quarter of next year ends. And that's about all I have for the treasurer report.
Sign Joe Califf up, the president of the Houston Astronomical Society, our first dues-paying member of 2021. But I think Eddie might sneak his check in just before yours, Joe. So you might have to take second seat on that one. But thank you, Eddie. I mean, yeah, if our club is small. We are based here in Southeast Texas. But if y'all do want to join us, we would love to have y'all on board with us. This is what we do. We just do it in person typically. So, but it is a very cool club to be a part of, that's for sure. Okay, so we'll keep on trucking through the club business here. We have the newsletter that Howard puts together for us is always a treat. It's always little nuggets of awesome wisdom in there, and especially on the calendar, which I always like to show. You can see we're here at the December 11th meeting that we are live streaming. We got perigee of the moon tomorrow, which is the moon closest to Earth, which is awesome. But that's a super new moon, right? Because it's at perigee during new moon, basically. So it's a super new moon. We're making up new.
That's my
super new
favorite.
titles. So we got a super new moon. We've got the Geminid meteor shower, which is going to be awesome. Howard's got a thing on that coming up. And then the rest of that stuff y'all can see. But we definitely want to pay attention to the 21st. Again, we're going to talk about that. And Christmas, if you enjoy getting gifts from your loved ones or just sitting around a fake tree that's in your house with stuff on it, then we'll do that too, which we all love, right? And Isaac Newton was, I think, humanity's Christmas gift, wasn't it? I'm glad Howard put that on there. That's pretty cool, Howard. Thank you for doing that stuff, as always. And full moon on the 29th. So we're getting a New Year's full moon, basically, which will be pretty cool. Sorry, Spencer, go ahead. So sorry. I thought somebody said something. Nope. Okay. We're going to keep going. Winter Star Party is canceled, unfortunately. If a lot of y'all follow the Star Party circuit, this may be one of the Star Parties that you've been trying to look into. It is canceled for 2021. There's always 2022. Star Party is an interesting one. It's down in the Florida Keys. So it's not necessarily the darkest skies in the world. But they say the seeing and transparency are usually pretty good. And you've got the beach right there. So you might as well just, swim during the day and observe stars all night if you can. But this picture was taken by a buddy of mine, Richard Wright, and you can see his website there, eveningshow.com. And that's actually, I think on the ladder there is John Pratt, who builds behemoth Dobsonians. I believe both of those Dobsonians in that picture are his builds, which I think the scope on the right is the Captain Kirk telescope. But somebody may be able to correct me on that, which I think is a 35-inch f4 or something like that, f3.9. Somebody could probably correct me, but John is a master telescope builder. So, and he is often at the Winter Star Party, but I've never been. Have any of y'all ever been to the Winter Star Party?
I never have, Will.
No.
It's on the bucket list, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, since none of us have been, we all got to go next year. So let's all work on that in 2022. Okay, so the coolest thing that's happening in 2020 as we close it out is the sun is coming back to life, which is absolutely fantastic. And with the sun coming back to life, there's all kinds of interesting stuff to look at on the sun. And so we like to do a little breakdown of it And by we, I mean Mr. Eddie Trevino, which what I'll do, Eddie, is I'll take this off. And then if you want to share your screen, I'll...
Before I get into it, Will, I see a couple of people have had questions. I think
yeah.
Nora asked about some possible solar flares. And yes, Nora, there were a couple of solar flares, and I'll talk about those. And I think Jeffrey made a comment that he didn't see any northern lights in New England last night, which there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that as well.
Aha. Yeah, this is going to be great. Let me, let's see. I think I need to stop sharing mine so it'll allow you to share yours. We'll figure it out one day, folks. I promise. There we go.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the solar cycle forecast, or the solar cycle report for most of November and a little bit of December. I'm covering everything that happened from the last meeting to today, this meeting. And let's get into it. Let me talk about this for a little bit. The solar cycle lasts 11 years. Here it was and peaked in 2000 and then peaked again at about 2015. We're at a minimum, a solar minimum right here. And it's forecasted to peak about this high, the same as solar cycle 24, sometime in July 2025. So we're on the way up, and we've had some good months and we've had some bad months. I'm going to say last month was a very good month. So I made this chart, and what we see here are from our last meeting on November 13th, we had 2 sunspots. And as the days rocked on, we lost 2 and had 1 sunspot. And then we had 0 sunspots on Monday and Tuesday. And then we had another sunspot. And notice that one's light blue. And I color-coded them because I wanted to point something out. Some of these sunspots lasted 13 days. 3 of them did, in fact, and they overlapped. So we had just a lot of sunspots all at one time as we went through the month. You can see on the 30th of November, we had 6 sunspots, which is incredible. I mean, that's the most sunspots we've had since the cycle started. And then they started tapering off, and today we have, I think, just 1 sunspot. So there's a nice little chart. And let's go through the spots. Here it was on the 13th. And you'll notice the sunspot number was 27. So I think a couple of meetings ago, I talked about how we arrived at that sunspot number. And it's whatever scope you're using, you count the groupings and you multiply it by another factor. And it gets calibrated to your scope. So everybody has the same rough number of sunspot numbers, but there's 27 there. And as the days rocked on, we got 24, and then we lost 1, and 2781 was rolling off the limb. And then we had a blank day, 2 blank days, in fact. And then we got another one coming on, 2783, and it rocked on. And it was pretty good size. And then 2784 appeared. It was a small one, and it didn't last long. 2785 and 2786. Now, 2786 was enormous. This sunspot here, 2785, that's as big as the Earth. So this is about 4 times that size, from my estimation. And you'll notice the sunspot number is 37. So watch what happens as we go on. Goes up to 40, 43. I want to talk about this 2786. It was huge. It's the biggest sunspot that we've seen in several years.
Wow.
So this picture was taken by somebody in Argentina, and his name's at the bottom right, Schoberger. I'm not going to attempt beyond that, but what he shows here is some light bridges in that sunspot right here and right here. And keep in mind, that's about the diameter of the Earth. And we don't really understand what the light bridges forecast or what they mean. We know what they are. Some people think that they're magnetic fields at the base of the sunspot. The magnetic fields just crisscross and reconnect, and that they cause solar flares. It could also be that it's a sign of an impending disintegration of the sunspot. The sunspot's literally cracking up. But the bottom line is we don't really know what they mean. We don't yet. So those sunspots rock and roll. We got another one at the top, 2787. And then we saw something, a solar flare. Now watch what happens down here. That was a solar flare. It's not even on the disk of the sun facing us. That's still kind of behind the sun, and we saw it. It's the biggest solar flare in more than 3 years. It was an M4 category. There was a CME, coronal mass ejection, associated with it. We didn't expect it to hit Earth because it was facing away from us when it started. But it turned out that it did hit us, just a minor glancing blow to our magnetic field. The X-rays and the ultraviolet radiation from that flare ionized the top of Earth's atmosphere. So let's look at this view from the SOHO satellite, and that's the coronal mass ejection blowing off the side there. Just remember, this wasn't even on the side that we can see. This was a little bit behind the sun. It hadn't rolled on to the disk that we can see. So that's a pretty big flare and a pretty big coronal mass ejection. This happened right at the end of November. So here, on this day, we had 6 sunspots on the surface of the sun, and that 2786 was enormous. And the sunspot number was 84, which is incredible. I've never seen it that high. You know, we've been having 0 and 11 and 12 and 13, but we had 84 that day. So we rocked on, and the sunspot numbers started dropping off. This happened on the 4th of December. What we noticed was in the southern hemisphere, we had all these groupings of active regions and just one in the northern hemisphere. And what I wanted to do is point out that as the solar cycle evolves, the disparity between active regions in the north and in the south is different. So this graph shows the different solar cycles. If it's red, that means we had a preponderance of active regions in the north hemisphere. And if it's blue, we had more active regions in the southern hemisphere. So that's interesting that, you know, as a cycle evolves, we have more in the north than in the south. And as it goes to minimum, we have more in the south than the north. So just an interesting fact. And we rocked on through December. This was December 7th. And here's that solar flare that everybody got excited about. This one was facing right at us. It's a pretty big flare. This was a C7 class solar flare. And it, like I said, it was pointing directly at Earth. And so I'm going to show you another view, and you can see what they call a halo corona mass ejection. Remember the one we saw that went off to the side? This is what it looks like when it's coming right at us. Focus around here when it first starts. You can kind of see it, but you lose it because it's coming right at us. We expected some severe magnetic activity and aurora and disturbances to our power lines because of that. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. And I want to look at this for a bit. The sun's in the middle right here on the left side. And this is the Earth. The rest are some of the other planets and some satellites. But this green line is that first solar flare that came off the side. And then this black line, look how dense that is, and it blows right at us. This is an overhead view. This is a sideways view, this middle image. And the darker the image is, the more dense the solar material is. So it hit us dead on. The reason it didn't affect us is because every coronal mass ejection, it brings some magnetic field from the sun. So if the field coming from the sun points south, then it opens cracks in the Earth's magnetic field, and we get aurora and all kinds of disturbances. But if the magnetic field coming from the sun points north, it actually seals the cracks in the Earth's magnetic field. So once it seals the cracks, it blocks the solar wind that enters into our atmosphere. And this particular CME brought the north magnetic field. So even though the velocity of the solar wind was really high, it was close to 600 kilometers per second, it just didn't cause any kind of interaction that we could see on Earth. So here's the month of all the sunspots that we could see. I'll show you that big one when it comes around. There's that big one. I think that was 2785. And that was our last 30 days in that wavelength of light. I always like to show this one as well, and I put the Earth scale there. Notice the flaring coming off the side. You'll see a big one here in a minute. There's that big active region. And right here in the middle is the flare that was pointing right at us. All right, so here's the last one that this one shows the flaring way better, this wavelength. All of this information I've downloaded from helioviewer.org. It's a great site. You can look at still pictures, or you can download videos of the month or of a week or of just a day if you want. And then for the last one, I always like showing the magnetogram. And I want to point out that if it's dark on one side, I think that's positive, and bright is negative. So in this hemisphere, it's going to be positive leading negative, and in the other hemisphere, you'll see it's negative leading positive. So it'll be just opposite. It's really interesting when you see them in both hemispheres. You see the one at the top, it's opposite colored. The white leads the dark instead of the dark leading the white. And that changes. That changes every solar cycle. So last solar cycle, it was white leading the dark on the bottom, on the southern hemisphere. In this solar cycle, it's the dark leading the light. And one's positive, one's negative. And I believe that the dark is the positive. At any rate, it changes every 11 years. So that magnetic cycle is actually 22 years. And that's the solar report for this year, or for this month. One last thing, want to point out, the winter solstice is coming up. We're right here. And I made this graph to show sunlight increases, the days are long, so the days are equal, and then the nights get longer. So once we pass this December solstice, the nights will start getting shorter again. That's all I got, Will.
Fantastic, Eddie. So if y'all have any questions out there about the sun, definitely send them in. We'll get to them as we go through the rest of the program here. And I'll switch.
Eddie. Very good.
Do we have any questions amongst the panel first while I'm switching over? And if not, then we'll just...
Not really.
Well, like I said, it was a good month for solar. If you had a chance to see that big sunspot, that would have been exciting. Unfortunately, I did not.
Yeah, I've not been out solar observing, and I should be. And especially now, since everything is kind of kicking off. So thank you, Eddie. We'll give you a virtual round of applause, because if we really clap, it just won't sound good. But thank you, Eddie. Great stuff as always. So we'll just switch gears over here to Mr. Howard Miner. And Howard had a few things he wanted to talk about, which coincided with some of the things that I wanted to talk about. So, but Howard, I want to turn it over to you, and then we'll all kind of come in for the stuff here in a second. So
Yeah,
take it away.
be sure and join in. I need all the help I can get. Anyway, the first thing, I was just kind of looking at the news that's happened since our last meeting, and December is turning out really to be a great observing month as far as having warmer weather, and with the temperatures in the upper 60s during the day, and no worse than in the 50s at night, and most of the time warmer. It's an excellent time if you got clear skies to get out there and view. One of the things that happened, of course, last month, the middle of November, was the International Space Station and the SpaceX Falcon rocket carrying the new crew up to the space station. And I think most of us got to watch that probably on the NASA channel or YouTube or something, and got a pretty detailed report of, tours of the International Space Station and everything from A to Z. And so also during this period, there was it seemed like there was more than normal on the number of passages of the International Space Station over our area. And so got out and saw quite a few of those, but it turned out that there was one passage of the International Space Station that turned out terrific. And Will's going to help us out here, I think, with this. And that was the fact that the Dragon spacecraft and crew and the Resilient was tagging along behind the International Space Station about 4 degrees, I think it was. And so it was pretty cool. And Will got a video.
I did. Rarely clear night that night. So I set up my Sony A7S Mark II, which can easily do, 60,000 ISO, which I believe is where I was for this particular video. And you can see the bright light up front is the space station, and the one behind it is Crew 1. That's the Dragon. So there's 4 astronauts, I believe, on board that at the time chasing ISS.
Right. Got 1 Japanese and 1 woman. And so it was kind of a very unique trip. So anyway, go ahead.
And there we go.
Okay. I guess that's pretty much it. But I was doing, since I do most of my little observing with naked eye, I always try and get out and see the ISS go over, and certainly love it when it gets up close to -4 magnitude. Really, really a spectacular shot. And to know people's up there maybe looking down on us. Ha ha.
They are. They can see us for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, as the month moved into December, the next thing that's going to happen here in a few days is the fact that the Geminid meteor shower is coming. And the stream of debris is from a comet called 3200 Phaeton, I guess. Yeah, maybe one of you know how to pronounce that. I don't.
Sounds right to me.
Phaeton, I think. And so this particular comet has a very elliptical orbit, and it goes way out past Mars and loops back around, and then crosses the Mars orbit, it crosses Earth's orbit, and it crosses Venus's orbit, and it crosses Mercury's orbit, and it gets down to a point where it's only like 12 million miles from the sun. And it gets, when it makes its loop around the sun, it gets very hot on the surface. And they think that the comet kind of cracks open and reseals itself due to the temperature changes, and that helps to cause extra debris being released by the comet. And actually, you know, the Geminids are probably one of the better, if not the best, shower year in and year out. And so
one of my favorites.
Huh?
That's one of my favorites for sure.
That's right. The comet is about 3.5 miles wide, and it, like I say, it gets really close to the sun. It's a very elliptical orbit, and coming up the night of the 13th and 14th, which is what? It is
Just
Saturday
2 days?
night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's today. No, tomorrow.
2 days, yeah.
And one of the things, again, about the comet passage and the moon this time is staying away from the comet quite a bit, and we're going to get more of a dark sky for sure. And it, what do I say? Oh, one of the things is that normally, you know, we have to get up early in the morning to see the peak of the meteor shower. Well, this time, the meteor shower falls in between 8 p.m. and Sunday at 2 a.m. So we can go out earlier in the evening and expect to see a good portion of the peak of the meteor shower without having to set the alarm clock for 3 o'clock in the morning. And so anyway, people need to get out to see this one. And, you know, we always tell people to get out and see it, and then it's cloudy or it doesn't materialize. But this actually has a better chance of materializing. And of course, it's already going on. It's been going on. And I think I read somewhere where the other night, Wednesday night, that NASA recorded about 8 fireballs. And so you can see those. Also, this year, since the sky is going to be a little bit darker, the shower has lots of faint meteors. So you're going to have a better chance of seeing fainter meteors. But to see those fainter ones, you're going to need to also go to a darker sky location, and probably not downtown Beaumont. But anyway.
Probably not.
Probably not. But anyway, the Geminids should be better, and get out there and see them. And they will continue if you all want to get out, you know, after the 13th for a few days. There's still a good opportunity. You might see a great fireball. So that's about what I had on the Geminids. And
it's a good one.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, that's a good meteor shower, Howard. I've not had much luck, but it sounds like maybe if we get some good weather,
yeah,
this year's a good year.
Should be I don't know if the best year or not, but it should be a top year. And that, you know, like I say, usually showers poop out and they don't get you just don't get to see as many as you had hopes to see. And actually, the Geminids usually average about 60 meteors per hour. So that's not a real whole lot, but it's not a few either. So, get out there and lay back and look. And it had another tip of, I always thought when you went meteor shower hunting, and that you look toward the radiation point, like these come out, of course, near Castor and Pollux. But they said when you look that direction, a lot of your meteors just have very short streaks, and that you should lay back and look at the whole sky, and you'll have a much better chance of seeing fireballs and some really good meteors, where if you focus in on the radiant point, you're really limiting yourself on what you might happen to see and not happen to see. So I thought that was an interesting point.
Yeah.
And so I guess we're going to move on. And I didn't notice if anybody had any questions. And
nope, we're good so far.
This is really the interesting thing of the whole year. And as far as I'm concerned, I know I was talking to Will a little bit earlier, and if the weather would turn bad or something, he said this event is one where you should hop in the car and drive wherever you need to get away out of the clouds to be sure and see this. So this is an important, rare, in this case, a rare event, because the last time that Jupiter and Saturn passed this close together was in, let's see, I can hardly remember when that happened. What was that, 1223?
Or 1260, yeah. One of those.
And so anyway, they pass each other about every 20 years. But this particular event, where they this time actually be in the same field of view as your eyepiece at the telescope, it's really going to be phenomenal. And and another point I want to point out about this conjunction is the fact that, of course, we're looking for one night on the 21st. And it's going to start as early as you can see Jupiter and Saturn in the evening twilight, soon after the sun goes down. And I guess if you have computer-driven scopes, you can actually get your scope onto Jupiter and Saturn maybe before it gets really, really dark. And so, but then you got an immediate problem. Once you get on it, you're only going to get about 2 hours of observing time, and maybe a little bit more if you have a really good view of the southwestern horizon. And that's another factor you need to, if you don't have one, you need to travel, whether it's up to a golf course somewhere or a parking lot or something, to where you have a clear view of that southwest horizon. And one of the things you don't have to worry about is light pollution, unless you got a street light right over the top of you. But you just don't need that. And so, I mean, get out there and go after it. And then I was going to say that you can really observe this event happening several days before the 21st. And 1 or 2 days, it's still going to be in, both Jupiter and Saturn will be in the same field of view. And so you're going to have a span of, depending, 3 to 5 days to see this event happening. Of course, there's only going to be a few minutes at the exact time when it's closest, but to each other. but you can kind of, you want to see the event. That's the main thing. And the long range weather forecast, folks, is not too swift. And it's maybe weather like we've had today. And but it looks like it's going to be more partly cloudy. So you may get to see the event between clouds. And of course, it's a long range forecast. It might be perfectly clear. So cross your fingers on that. And the two planets. But that's a good point. I need to point that out to you, that be sure and go out a couple days before and get your feeling of what you're seeing and how you're going to see it, because that's important. And so that you get the detail that's going to be happening. And as these planets are passing each other, they're so close together that their moons are going to be, some of Jupiter's Galilean moons are going to be close to Saturn, and some of Saturn's, like Titan, is going to be close to Jupiter. So they're going to be kind of weaving a web. Apparently, of course, that's not happening, but it's going to appear that they are running around with each other for a change. And so very interesting situation is happening. And start off with low powers and work your way up. Try and use as high powers as possible to get it all in. And but just start out with the low powers, and you'll be okay. And then another thing, I got a picture at the bottom of this chart that shows Jupiter and Saturn. And it's pretty good to show you the relationship between the two planets. Jupiter is going to be at 33 seconds in diameter. And Saturn, the planet itself, is 15 seconds in diameter. I'm not quite sure what the diameter of the rings are, but then, a combination of both, they're probably a little bit larger than Jupiter. But the planets themselves here in this picture are going to be very similar to what you're going to see on the telescope, except they're not going to be sitting side by side. One will be up above the other, maybe at about a 45-degree angle or something. So, but anyway, it looks good to me, and I think I'm going to be like Will. I'm going to be ready to hop in the car. In fact, Eddie said that too, that hop in the car and drive to where we got clear skies to see this event. So,
absolutely, Howard. This is something I don't want to miss, and if I have to drive, I will.
And so anyway, our Will is going to show you some sky safari.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. I was just showing real quick the video I took last night.
Oh yeah,
and
tell them
so
how you've been doing that, Will.
yeah, I'm just videoing it with a normal DSLR camera with a really nice lens, and getting pretty up close and personal with the plants a little bit. And as they get a little bit closer, I'll be able to get a little bit more detail, I think. And so yeah, it's been pretty good. Why don't I do this? Why don't I switch over to Sky Safari Pro here, and we'll talk about that for a few seconds if I can figure out what I'm doing here.
My favorite.
Yeah, Sky Safari is just a good time, especially if you're a seasoned observer. But so here it is right now, everybody. This is what's happening right now. So if you were planning to go outside and view Jupiter and Saturn, you're going to notice that they're in the trees. And unless you have a gap in the trees, you might not be viewing Jupiter and Saturn very well. But that's them right there. And then what I'll do is I'll remove the horizon here, and I'll let's see. Used to. Okay, so this is something maybe that somebody from Sky Safari can help me with. Now, when I measure to an object, it does it in actual AU, like how far these objects are apart. It doesn't do it in degrees anymore, but it will on my phone. So there must be a setting somewhere. So I can't show you guys how far apart they are in this particular view. I don't get that. Like I said, maybe there's somebody out there that can help me figure that part of it out. What's cool, what I thought was cool is look, M75 is right here. So tonight, if you got out and you did some photography of these three, this would have been a pretty cool little shot. If you could overexpose the planets, you could easily get, I'm assuming that's Titan. And then is this Enceladus? I think right there. Oh, Hyperion right there. And then this might be Iapetus. Okay. So you pop those moons. And then, of course, you get Jupiter and its 4 moons, which are down here. But you definitely get this little fuzzy object here, which is actually a globular cluster. Thought that was neat.
That's cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, and so what we'll do is I'll lock in on, let's say, Jupiter. I'll enter it, and then watch what happens as we go. I have it set to days here, you can see. Now watch what happens as I go through these days over the next couple of days. This is pretty dramatic. 1 day is that far. And then there's 2. There's 3, 4. So now we're in Tuesday of next week. Here comes Wednesday. And by this point, this is pretty awesome right here. This is, the closest I've ever seen these two closer than this is closer than I've ever seen. And it just keeps getting closer and closer. In fact, what I'll do is I'll zoom in a little bit.
So what day are you on here?
This is the 18th, believe it or not. This is several days even before the closest part.
Okay.
And Steve, this is from Texas, like looking from the Houston area. That's where I have my current location set from.
Okay.
So if I keep going, and we're into the 20th, and it gets even closer still. You can see that we're still a day off here, and then that's
they'll both be in the same field of view the day before.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, right here for sure. I mean, you can see, what is this, Callisto? Mine is, if you turned Jupiter on its axis, Callisto would be hanging out. It would be transiting Saturn. You might even be able to get it to cross if you could spin Jupiter around, which we should call NASA and see if maybe they can turn Jupiter for us to get it, a little bit differently. But you can see that even like Howard said, a couple of days before. There we go. Even on the 19th, which is Saturday, next Saturday. Look at that, y'all. Y'all could easily get in one field of view. Easily in binoculars. It's easy in binoculars right now. So you're talking telescopic view, dead on the object, right in the neighborhood. And what I'll do is I'll on the 21st, and I'll zoom in here, so we can actually. So once you zoom into a certain point, Sky Safari resolves the stuff. And then look at this, we have a Io or a Ganymede transit at 7:27 p.m. So that's Central Time.
21st.
That's right. Yeah, on the night itself.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
Hey, Will.
Yeah.
Can you zoom out and maybe track how high they're going to be in the sky for a couple of days? Can you put like a grid on there?
Well, it shows it up in the corner of the deal. Up on the upper left corner of the
that's true. Yeah, it does show that up there, but this is a good way to do it too. In fact, what I'll do is the horizon went away. I was like, where did there we go. Okay, now let's back up to let's say it gets dark most places around
6:30.
Yeah. Okay, so there is both of them, and you can see at 6:30 on the 21st. They're going to be, what is that, 20 or 15 degrees? What does it say?
I was thinking about 22, what I measured, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I guess it's altitude. Well, is it saying plus 12 degrees? Is that right? I guess, is that 10?
I
Well,
don't see any numbers on the lines.
I don't either. Maybe I need to do something in the grids. Horizontal coordinates. Horizontal.
click on it.
Maybe back out to where you can see the ground, and then we'll just count up from there.
Can you click on Jupiter and it'll
Yeah,
tell you up at the top of the screen what the object is and the info?
let's see if we can go to info here. I usually, like Eddie said, I use these right here. Anything under this, I don't even really concern myself. Just for those of you that use Sky Safari or whatever. But anything under here, just like why? But right here, it's like, we're gonna do it because of what But okay, so here we go. Altitude, yeah, 12 degrees.
Wow.
That's pretty low. You're going to have an open western horizon for that.
That's right. And that's at 6:30. Now, like Howard said, if you're one of those people that has a mount that can do it, which is, most mounts, set it up a night or two before, have it polar aligned, have it whatever. So then when you turn it on that day, you turn it on before it gets dark, and you won't really need to do too much of an alignment. You shouldn't. And then you can actually, slew over to the right ascension declination coordinates, and you should be right on target.
Right.
So if
you
were
have
going
to be very cautious there, Will, because the sun will be up. You want to make
That's
sure
right.
you don't,
It'll be
accidentally look into the sun with your scope. That would be very bad.
Well, if you do it just after the sun set, it's still twilight enough that you won't be able to see it with the naked eye. But that's the time to really turn it on and not have to worry about the sun.
Yeah, and you can see here at 6 o'clock, so just a half hour, it's up at 17 degrees, almost 20 degrees here, this is the 20-degree marker here. So you can see that's a fairly good horizon or a good area. But like Eddie said, you're going to need that really good horizon to the west.
Right.
Make sure you have a good open western horizon. There's a lot of places that offer that. Find an airport, get on the east side of the airport. Stuff like that. Not a whole lot of trees at airports for good reasons. So that's something to think about for sure. Anything anybody wanted to add to that? Because I know there's a lot going on with that. So if y'all have any questions, we'd love to field those. Steve had a question, which our friend Stormy Steve, a good friend of ours from Okie-Tex and all the others. What location is that from? This is in Texas, Steve, like where we kind of are. Nora says, awesome. What's up, Dakota? Good. Glad you could join us. There was a question, so we'll take that while we're getting transitioning here towards the end of it. What are the hours to observe the Gemini meteor showers again? Anytime after midnight, I say, but Howard, why don't you take over and I'll go to the next thing here.
Well, on this particular shower, it's they're saying in between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. Sunday, the peak will fall in that period. So it's not like a normal shower where the peak is usually at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. So you can start your honest, finding meteors earlier in the evening, and then you cross your fingers a lot and have a cup of hot chocolate handy and a jacket. Get after it.
There you go. That's the best way to.
Howard, my experience with trying to observe meteor showers is that there is no one best time. That's just so hard to predict. Your best bet is to just spend a lot of time out there.
Yeah.
Because, you might see a whole bunch of real small ones and think that was great. And the moment you stop, there's going to be that great big bolide that you wish you'd have stayed up just a little bit longer for.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's how it goes. The second you turn your back for hot cocoa, boom, that's when it happens. That's 2020 for you. When you turn around like Will did at the El Dorado Star Party, you turn around and then a massive bolide lights up everyone in front of you to where I could see color in the grass. I saw the color of everyone's shirts they were wearing, and everyone's screaming. And by the time I turn around, it was gone, which is ridiculous because usually when they're that bright, they last for a while. But it was, but that's the way it goes. That's the way the universe works. Sometimes you catch them, sometimes you don't. The big fish sometimes does get away. So while we're wrapping it up here, let's do a quick year in review, which I thought was, wasn't a whole lot going on this year, right? We didn't have a whole lot of outreaches, if any. We didn't do a whole lot of star partying, if any. But what we did do, I think we did pretty well. Most of us remember the Comet Neowise, which was this summer, right? So it wasn't all that long ago. And for those of y'all that got out and saw this, fantastic. For those of y'all that missed it, there's videos out there online everywhere. You can grab those. So much stuff going on in the cosmos this year that I just wanted to highlight a few things. This was a video that I got of the comet with the International Space Station flying over, which was pretty cool. The only way it could have been cooler is if it would have went through the comet's tail. Somehow, but
I saw that. I was up looking at that time.
yeah, I wasn't far enough south, Howard. I should have been a little further south, and that thing would have crossed right across the comet there from my perspective. But pretty cool stuff. I know a lot of y'all saw Neowise, and it was pretty cool. We haven't had a good comet like that in a good long while, so that was fun. That was always a treat. Comets are always a favorite of mine for sure. And we did do the El Dorado Star Party, which I did this little time lapse on. I thought it'd be cool to share that as we kind of kiss 2020 goodbye, a good riddance. But you know what? We did have a good time at El Dorado Star Party. It was one of the only star parties besides like Winter Star Party 2020 that went ahead. Winter Star Party goes on in February, so that was right before the worst of all this. So they went ahead and had it, and everything was fine. As far as I know, we went ahead and had El Dorado with very not strict, but just lots of precautions in place. No talks, none of the frills that a normal star party comes with, and a way lessened attendance. But I think we had fun. Eddie Trevino was there, and Spencer was there, and Spencer actually. So Spencer, you got injured. I know you probably don't want to go into too much detail about what happened, but I mean, was it a javelina? Was it a giraffe? What got you out there?
It was probably a tequila shooting contest got out of hand.
That can't happen on Friday nights at the star parties. That can't happen. Yeah.
Right. So, as you know, Monday night was really nice until about midnight. So, first night of the star party, and it got a little hazy or a little humid. Some moisture came back in, so I was tired and wanted to go ahead and put things up and get the rest of the night's sleep about 1 o'clock. So carried in a couple of loads of things and put them in the little camper that I rented. And every time I went in and came back out, I was a little wary of the stairs because they were kind of short and a little bendy. And so second time I came back out after dropping off a load of stuff, I was holding on to the inside of the door, with my arm in the kitchen, and stepped out and my foot slipped. And I tried to save it and went out face first instead and landed on my left hand. And the tips of my toes were still in the trailer with me. No. I didn't hit anything else. So anyway, rolled over and figured out how to get back up. My arm was a mess. Ended up breaking the radius, the large bone, just at my wrist. So I ended up having to go to the ER in the middle of the night at El Dorado, the city of El Dorado, and went to the Schleicher County Hospital. They gave me a splint and went back and got about 2 hours rest and got up in the morning and started trying to pack up. The ER doctor told me go straight to an orthopedic surgeon and get it fixed because in his description, it basically broke off the end of the radius and pulverized part of it. So that fixed. So, and big props to Eddie and Kat. I found them in the morning and they were out drinking coffee by their camper, and they very graciously volunteered to help me go out and pick up my telescopes and pack up the trailer and get me on the road to get back to Vidor and get to the hospital. So I was actually able to get to the orthopedic surgeon the next morning. So Wednesday morning, I was actually there getting x-rays and getting examined. And then he said, come back Monday and we'll do a pre-op, and Tuesday we'll operate. And then on Wednesday night, they said that right after I visited, they called me up and said, hey, can you come in and do your pre-op Thursday? We'll operate on you this Friday. So just a few days later, I went, into the operating room and actually got a plate and 8 screws in my wrist or in my forearm. So actually I have pictures if I can share my screen. It's a new mount.
Let me do that. Go ahead and share it. And then once it pops up, I can put it on the screen.
So Spencer,
yeah,
who drove you to the hospital that night in the middle of the night?
That was me. The quiet and nobody up and around, and I actually went and got 2 more loads of junk and put them in the Jeep to kind of tidy up the site. And I had talked to my wife, and she found an ER that was open that was 24 hours. So, yep, I grabbed a bag of ice and popped 4 ibuprofen and drove myself to the hospital and smashed at least 1 raccoon and had to go slam on the brakes for a deer. And it was quite the trip over there and back.
So you hit a raccoon on the way to the hospital with a broken eye.
I think I hit one on the way back too. That was late.
Yeah.
By the way,
You are one tough man, Spencer.
It was rough, I'll tell you.
By the way, Spencer, Jane and I made the trip to ER in El Dorado one night, and Jane was having a problem, and so we had to go, and we made it too, like 2 o'clock in the morning.
I think I ended up going, it was about 3, and got there and got back to the camper about 5 and tried to get a little rest, which was difficult. And I got back up in the morning and packed up what I could pick up with one hand. And like I said, Eddie and Kat were my saviors and helped me pack up and get the camper back ready to go. Well, did we get?
I still haven't seen anything from your screen share. I'm just waiting for it.
Let me go back to share again.
Yeah, Spencer, I just wish we could have done more. I felt bad putting you on the road. I could tell you were in some severe discomfort.
Yeah, it was a little painful, yes.
And I want to say that if that happened to me in the middle of the night, people would have come running from miles to see what happened. I would have screamed so loud.
Would have been loud, huh? I think I said something discouraging when I fell.
Some kind of words, yeah.
Yeah. So that was my little campsite, or my telescope site. Do you have that yet?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And like I said, Eddie and Kat helped me pick all that up and get it in the Jeep and camper and get me back on the road. I think I got back, it was about a 10-hour drive after including dropping off the camper. So this is my new binocular mount. It's internal.
Lordy.
Got a plate and 8 screws there.
Internal parallelogram mount.
Yeah.
Those are some long screws too. Holy
yes,
cow.
they are. Yeah. He was really concerned about how close it was to the end of the bone, and you can see how close that is. And you can see the bone's broken off, and it's not all there anymore. But anyway, it's in there, and it mostly works okay now. And but I can foresee 6 or 7 months we'll probably take it back out again.
Wow. Well, we're glad you're okay.
Spencer. That first night of at a star party, it's so easy to get over exhausted because you've been up all day, you've traveled and you've set up, and now you want to stay up as late as you can. And I always try to get to bed early that first night. It's tempting to stay up late, but I always pay dearly for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that I got up 3:30 or so in the morning, left Vidor by 5. Picked up the camper in Kerrville a little after lunch and, drove on out to the site, set up, got groceries because there was absolutely nothing in the camper, and came back. And as soon as the clouds kind of cleared after twilight, got out and started observing. And it was really a great night. You know, the skies were clear, and you know, Mars was just astounding. I pulled up my Mars Globe app just to look at it, and I was seeing exactly what the Mars Globe app set, you know, showed. So it was really astonishing. It was a good night observing. But like I said, you know, it got a little hazy there after a while. You know, I started losing the lower magnitude stars, so I started packing up and figured I would get to bed early, like you say, but it wasn't. It wasn't to be.
Wow. You still have your 14-inch, or do you have a different scope?
It's a 12-inch. I've got the 12-inch Orion Go-To.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And had that set up, and then I have my 7-inch Maxitov set up on a push-to mount.
Wow.
So,
Okay, great.
great views. I think that's a 3,000 millimeter focal length on the Maxitov. So it's a nice, good high-power scope. I'll be using that again for the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. Put the DSLR. That should be good.
Great.
So
Yeah,
everyone, we're going to Spencer's house
We're going
on the
to
21st.
Unfortunately, I don't think I have a very good western view, so I've been looking at the corner of my driveway to maybe get a little bit more horizon, but I might have to drive somewhere too.
Yeah.
Sounds like pretty much the program is, you know, most of us have trees all everywhere. I mean, we live in an area where, you know, I live in a town called Groves. They don't name them, you know, for groves of cacti. So,
I've
but
seen
yeah,
your trees. You have a lot.
yeah, there's a lot around here, unfortunately. So, but you know, that's the way it goes. And that's the thing about these events. We know they're coming. You know, it's like a hurricane. You have plenty of time to prepare ahead of time. And then once the thing comes, then all you got to do is know when and where to be and go. And that's the thing. It's just like an eclipse, just like a ISS transit of the sun, moon. You just got to know where to be and make sure you're there to do it. But yeah, so I mean, we had a great time this year at the few events that there was. That was the recap right there. It was 2 or 3 events, which is funny. But you know, I think we all got through this year pretty well. We're in December, y'all, so we can look back at this hopefully in the future and just laugh at it. Maybe, hopefully, some of us. At least you know, maybe it's given some of us a bit of perspective, or you know, whatever it's done for us. It's told us that, you know, maybe we can eat to go every other night. It's not a bad thing. You know, you don't have to necessarily go into the restaurant and sit down. I don't know. Maybe it's taught you different things, but it certainly has taught me that I don't go out much anyway. So there's that, which is pretty cool. So as we're kind of closing it down here, we'll get to some last minute comments. I want to thank everybody for joining us and hanging out with us through the whole episode here. This is awesome stuff. It's always a great pleasure to do these astronomy meetings online. Again, normally we do these behind closed doors at a planetarium. It's a secret society where no one can see in. Of course, it would be open to everybody if you could just make it to Beaumont for our meeting, but that's not possible for a lot of people, obviously. So this has been kind of cool. This has allowed us a way to kind of get out to a little bit broader an audience and do what we do in this sense for the entire world online. So that's pretty cool. And again, we appreciate everybody came in and hung out with us. So Howard, do you have anything to add as we put a cherry on top 2020 for the Astronomical Society? Southeast Texas.
Well, I don't know, man. I'm sure ready for 2021. And, you know, this year Jane fell and broke her leg and hip a little bit. And so she's still recovering from that from back in May. And, of course, we've been fortunate and not get the virus. And when I go out shopping, I wear gloves and my mask and have spray bottle of sanitizer with me, and away I go.
You hose people down with that, Howard, as they walk past you, or is it for you?
Yeah, both. But anyway, I've enjoyed the year. I've enjoyed my few times to be on here with you, Will, and you do a great job as usual, and And Eddie's report was fantastic. And Spencer, you're a great observer. And just stay on your feet, okay, babe?
You bet.
We'll work on the balance a little bit there for Spencer, but that's a mistake. Really, like you that one once, I guess, right? But then again, I say that, and I'll be the one falling out of my camper next time, So you never know what goes on out there, man. You could step on a rock the wrong way and twist your ankle, So you got to really kind of be careful. And what happened to Spencer, I think, is an extreme case of what can happen to you out in those situations, and why it's imperative that we all stick together out there. Again, Eddie and Kat were there to help Spencer pack up his stuff and get going. I was asleep. I woke up like 2 hours later and saw that he had called, because I went to bed at 8 a.m. that day, and I think he called at like 10 a.m. So I was just asleep, but I saw the call and I was like, oh, I wonder why Spencer called. And then I heard talking about something, and I was like, oh no. So we're glad you're okay, Spencer. Everything works out in the end.
Thanks.
And you'll be there in 2021. I know you will be. So, and hopefully we'll have great skies, and you'll be able to hang out with us again. There's a last minute question here from Emerson. Is there any hope of seeing the Geminids? Of course there is. Tomorrow, I think. Tonight, I think we're out of luck, Emerson, as far as the Beaumont, Texas area goes. We're kind of out of luck here. The best place to go is a place that's clear, free of clouds and free of lights. Anywhere you can get. The further you can go west Texas, the better. I mean, get out to Fort Davis if you want to. But, of course, if you can't, Magnolia Ridge, there's a few options around the area. Even the beach might be a little bit better of an option if you don't want to go too far.
Down around Surfside or Lake Jackson down there along the beach, that would be not too bad.
Yeah. And so there's definitely a lot of options out there if you want to do that. And okay, so with that, we'll adjourn this the Friday or the December 11th meeting of the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. Thank y'all again for joining us. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us again. Get your dues in if you want to join the Astronomical Society. Eddie, did you have any closing words for us as we're heading out?
It was great to be here tonight, Howard, Will and Howard and Spencer. Thanks for joining us. I'm looking back on 2020, and I think what I've realized is I am starved for some astronomy friendship, to be close at hand, to shake hands and look through each other's scopes and to actually do outreach. And I think one thing that I've learned is to appreciate the smaller things, like this conjunction. Maybe we wouldn't have made such a big deal out of it if we'd have been in normal times, or the Dragon crew launch trailing the International Space Station. We're starting to see those little things and appreciate them and point them out to people, and it's those little things that get people involved.
Absolutely.
So,
well said,
maybe some
Eddie.
good out of the bad. I saw some questions about solar flares and about orbits of Jupiter and Saturn as viewed from Earth. Somebody asked about the website that I mentioned. It's called helioviewer.org. I'll look through all the Facebook questions, and I'll try to go through and answer as many as I can after. So
cool. Thanks
again, Will. You've done a great job. Howard, thanks for your report. And Spencer, thanks for your story. And I hope to see you back there again, man.
Oh, yeah.
You are a great observer.
Oh, thanks.
And I want to look at your scope.
My wife says they were renting a cabin next time. So
Very good.
There you go. There's definitely that option. And
Yep.
Spencer, again, thank you, man, for hanging out with us. That's all. It's great to have you on. And hopefully we'll have you back on again in the future. And y'all will definitely see me at Okie Tex and TSP. I'll be there. Some of these dudes probably might be there with me. Who knows? So we'll see as the year goes on. But that's all we got, guys. Thank y'all again for hanging out with us. We are the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. And you can find us online for the time being on the second Friday of the month, usually around 7 p.m., depending on the night. And we appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a great night. Wear your mask, wash your hands, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and we'll see y'all on the flip side. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Christmas, happy holidays. I forgot about that. That is happening, isn't it? Yeah. So like planets and planets, I don't even know the holiday.
Yeah, we talked about the solstice.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.